long, beautiful hair. We will talk about what a juice cleanse does to your mind and what a juice cleanse does to your body and how you manage both in this journey, because ultimately a juice cleanse is a very holistic journey. Many people wonder what a juice cleanse is and still have fears about what fasting means, how much muscle do they lose, how much weight do they lose in general, is there malnutrition, is there any opportunity to continue with coffee and milk, or because it's a liquid as well? All these questions are out there and people feel really insecure about it, even though it's actually a very simple, I think, concept as such, that we want to keep simple for you. That's basically the message. And in order to make it a nice and pleasant journey for you guys, we set up this whole program in our community juice cleanse now in January, and we're partnering with both experts in Adidas and Ohia for the nutrition and mind journey. There will be online and offline programs throughout the next couple of weeks that cover everything that you need to know about a juice cleanse. You will also find more information in the Deluma app that will guide you through it every day on a high level. And this content here is a level down for you guys to prepare for what's ahead. So maybe let's start with what is a juice cleanse. I think many people think of juice cleanses as something of how to lose weight. I think many people want to lose weight in a way, or they do want to have a New Year's resolution kickoff in some way. That's all valid, but it's not what the key principle is about. The key principle is something that you have seen in pretty much all societies throughout the course of history, and which has often been something that correlates with religious purposes. So fasting has been something that you find pretty much in all religions, in whatever kind of context, even though in whatever kind of structure, be it intermittent fasting, things like in Islam, for instance, where you can only eat at night and not during the day. If it's like a slower phase, like in Christianity, there's different concepts everywhere, but they all range around, I think, a certain way of stopping consumption, focusing on yourself, resetting, and creating more awareness. And this is basically what this whole journey is also about. The physiological principle behind it is that of a caloric reduction. And that typically means that over a certain period of time, you should not exceed about 500 calories a day of intake in order to trigger certain processes in your body, and that also triggers certain processes in your mind. We will go into detail about what this actually does trigger, but this is one of the key aspects that I think people pursue with fasting. A second thing, as I said, is this kind of transcendental aspect, which is taking a break, reflecting on yourself, slowing down, exhaling, having the mind cleared, having the body cleared, experiencing the physicality of yourself in a different way. All of these things really come strongly into play. This is something that we all do when we do a New Year's resolution and when we do a New Year's fast, which is a very fascinating, I think, kind of side of these things, because there is a strong connection between the body and the mind, always. And a juice cleanse is a great, I think, initiative for both of these fields simultaneously. What are the benefits? The benefits are ultimately, I think, a couple of tangible ones on the physical and on the mental sides. The physical side is that, as I said, of weight loss at some point. There is that of cutting bad habits. That is especially in relation to sugar and sort of energy-dense foods that we're very much used to. Another benefit is that you actually support the microbiome through it, which is strongly influenced by a lot of our prepped and sugar-dense foods that we eat on an everyday that lead to an imbalance in your gut. Another aspect is that of cell renewal and anti-aging, which I think is an increasing role of fasting that science is looking into. And that's also something that we'll talk about in greater detail. And then there's the whole kind of, as I said, transcendental part of reflecting, meditating, giving your mind a break, slowing down, reflecting on your targets, feeling your body in a different way, which altogether creates, as I said, a holistic reset journey, which is, I think, very valuable and something that I do at least once a year. And I then continue with all the facets of it throughout the year with little habits that I'll try to take over. And this is also something that we want to stress right now or later in this whole journey is take this reset button and take away certain little points that you can carry on doing throughout the year, because it doesn't need to be a one-off. But if you can stabilize and create better habits around it, the effects will be even better. But maybe let's start with a mindset about this, because as I said, it's very much an exercise about training what you need and what you want. And for that, I'll jump in right now with Mareike, who's sitting at Sports Base of Adidas, and who is an expert on mind coaching. And she's also an athlete, so she knows how this ties in together with exercise and with performance and with the physicality, with a strong physicality. And it's not so much on the esoteric end, but actually really somebody who's a performer. And that's why it's super interesting to talk with you. And I'll just hand over to you, Mareike, in any regard that you just want to open the topic with.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Mareike or Mari. I'm more commonly known as Mari, and I'm also a sports psychologist. And as David mentioned, the mental side of fasting is as important as the physical side. I would say, as you said, also it's a holistic journey. If you just drink juices for 5, 7, 10 days, however long you want to stretch this out, you won't get all the benefits from it, because then you push the reset button, but then like you reset your phone, you return to the usual modalities of your phone, and then you'll have the same crap on it. So it's about resetting and then using that time, that space in between while your body is going through this reset process to fill your body and your mind with positive things. And while in juice cleanse, you will do you will cover nutrition over water and juices and everything going into the fast and coming out. And Hannah and David will talk about that later. But in between the process where you're actually fasting and just drinking juices and water, you can work with your mind to fill it with the right things that you want to maintain afterwards. So from the mental side, it's very, very important to push that reset button that David talked about for the right reasons, and know really well why you press that reset button, and then already using that time while you're fasting, to juice fasting, to implement positive habits that you will maintain then afterwards. Because research shows us that the most successful diets, it actually doesn't really matter what you consume, how much, how many macros, what kind of, high fat, low carb, or paleo, or whatever. The most important factor for the effectiveness of those diets is if you maintain them long term, if you can. So use this time of fasting to implement good habits. And like David said, hopefully and most likely, if you follow the instructions and use this time to also focus on yourself, you'll experience a strong mental clarity. And also be usually really connected to your purpose. So why are things important in life? Your senses will be heightened, your perception of things will be heightened, and this is the perfect time to connect to yourself, to your values, and also how you want to live your life and why. And this is ultimately questions you should ask yourself in the beginning, so before embarking on this cleanse, and then throughout. So how can you do that? I would suggest before you start the cleanse and use the days as you kind of slowly prepare your body and mind to go into the cleanse, to ask yourself 3 questions. 1, why are you doing this? And you should come up with at least 3 reasons for yourself. And any reason that is important to you, so it's fine. The only point is that it has to be important to you. It has to be a reason where you say this is worth it. Second, how does it feel for you afterwards? So if you think now at yourself being on the first day after the cleanse, how will you feel? Like, what is your expectation? What do you want to have changed? Like, how is that person different from your person now? So that's the second part. What has changed and what are you hoping to change through that? And the third part is, how is it affecting the people around you? So research on purpose has shown that every purpose that is connected to something larger than yourself, so the people around you, for instance, family or your work or the sense of purpose you feel in something, makes anything you embark on more effective. So having a purpose that doesn't only serve you, but also serves people around you as something bigger in this world will help you. So to sum it up, 1, why are you doing this? Second, what will it change for you? So how have you changed one day after the fast? And what do you want to continue with afterwards? And then third one is, how is it connected to people around you or the things larger than yourself, maybe projects or any kind of purpose that you have in life. So these are the questions to ask yourself before the cleanse, and then review them obviously afterwards, but we have follow-up sessions on this one. And then during the cleanse, I would suggest, you might have seen on the shopping list to get a book and like write something down. And I would personally recommend to write down 3 things you're grateful for every single day. Can be as small and big as you want, but stick with 3 things. It's a very easy exercise to help improve gratitude and therefore like a sense of fulfillment in life. So 3 things every day. And I would also write down every day what you experienced, like what changed, because throughout the next days, you will probably see that you will ask yourself more deeper questions. And just for you, reviewing these afterwards can also help you to connect to that feeling again once you get out of the fast.
I think this is a very important thing, because this journey that you're embarking on is about restraint. And there's, I think, a certain degree of certainty that restraint in the first day or something will lead to anxiety to a certain extent, especially if you don't anticipate that anxiety. And I think you have to be very open from the very beginning that there will be that anxiety. And I think the exercise and the challenge behind that is to learn that this anxiety impulse that the body is giving to you, in a way, is nothing that the mind needs to follow through with. So don't be chased by your body's impulses, in a way, when you'll see that this is just a physicality matter, when insulin and sugars, and we'll talk about that in a minute, sort of send you back on a certain track, and like a little monkey in your head, you don't have to follow through with your habits and your certain physiological, as I said, parameters that are shifting in this course. It's actually the kind of journey that you want, because it embodies change. And I think to reflect on this every day is a very valuable exercise, because you'll see what kind of thoughts pop up in your head, how you generally feel, what that does to your body. And to reflect on this, I think, is exactly what you want with this kind of journey. So don't be irritated if you have these thoughts or trigger points. Learn to manage them. And I think that's the beauty in this whole journey. And if I look at the overall curve, you'll see that in the beginning, this anxiety might go up and the well-being might go down. And this is going to shift after about 2 days, which is what we call Fasting Hangover, which is fasting hangover, in a way. We'll talk about the physiognomics behind this in a minute. But for your mind, it's important to look ahead and anticipate these 2 factors shifting. First day or second day kind of anxiety. And then you'll see all of a sudden that everything shifts and everything becomes very light and positive, and you feel super energized and bright and cleared. And that's something in a journal that you can reflect perfectly with such an exercise and see how you change over the course of such a fast.
And also, if your journey isn't exactly what David just told you, if you experience this lightness and this clarity later, stay in it for a little while longer. You have the resilience, your body might have the resilience to stay in adverse conditions and to deal with things that are not super comfortable, but physiologically you will absolutely have the resources to live through this fast and to be well and to come out of it well. So your body isn't threatened, even though your mind will tell you. That's because our mind is programmed to anticipate threat. So during a fast, obviously, your mind will tell you there's a scarcity of food, you should definitely take action now. When you know consciously that's an evolutionary program that just going rogue here and will not serve you. So you have like all those things that will help you to stay in it. And if you really have something that's happening to you that you can't explain and that's not something that you anticipated, there's also guidance in the Luma app and on the website to help you in the FAQs to anticipate things and like react to things that might happen that we might haven't discussed. So also feel free to like reach out for advice in the app and in the FAQs on the homepage.
Yes. And also, when we close this session today, we will do a little exercise that you guys can all repeat every day when you go through a moment of anxiety and distress, which should or could be part of your daily habits in such a cleanse altogether. So maybe let's switch over to the physiognomical part now in preparations. And for this, Hannah is sitting here with us. And I think the link between these 2 things are very strong. I mean, the mind is triggered by the body, and vice versa. And I think maybe let's go into the very basics of it in a minute. Why would you want to do a juice cleanse from a physical standpoint or as a nutritionist? Do I have to fear malnutrition is one thing, right? Am I going to lose muscle? Am I going to lose fat? Am I going to suffer? Is it good or bad for my stomach? All these kind of things, I think, are typical questions that people have. And maybe, Hannah, I'll give you this bunch of questions to kick off with.
Yeah. Hello, welcome. Also from me, my name is Hannah. I'm a nutrition coach and I'm working for Adidas. And yeah, first of all, during a fast, an effect, so-called autophagy is happening. It's mainly when you eat less than 500 calories a day, your body starts actually a recycling program. So the body's breaking down the damaged cells, either to use them for the energy the body needs in that time, or to get rid of it. So it also has a detox effect, which you will feel during the first 2 days, I guess. Yeah, and it's basically this fasting phase has an impact on your gut health, because it's good for your gut to have pauses, to not snack all day. It has an effect on your immune system, but it has also an anti-aging effect. And the main reason or the main goals for doing the juice cleanse is not to lose weight, as David already mentioned. I mean, you might lose weight depending on the time, but it's mainly water in most cases. But it's also to support your overall health, to improve your health, your immune system, to balance the blood sugar and also the energy levels, also to maintain a good inflammatory level. That is also really important for your health. And that should be the main goals from a nutrition health point of view.
So would you say that, how about malnutrition? So if there is only juice, for instance, are you going to suffer from malnutrition just because you go down on your calories?
Depends on the juices, but as we use your juices, of course not. But I mean, if you fast for a really, really long time, of course, there will be a deficit. But if you're just doing it for some days, no. And because you give your body the energy it needs to maintain, for example, the brain health and everything. And your body exchange from using calories from sugar, for example, use it from fat cells. So there's no malnutrition if you do it right, and if you prep yourself, we will come to that later, properly. You might lose some muscle mass, but that also depends on your preparation. That depends on if you stay active for during the time. So I would say, if you do it properly, no.
Exactly. And I think this is the balance that makes a good cleanse, basically. In a good cleanse, you'll bring together two things. One of it is that you have a base caloric level that allows brain functions to go on, etc., and your inner organs and everything will be fine. And I think that's the second part, is though bring down your insulin levels and bring down your blood sugar levels altogether, because this is what triggers this autophagy effect. And the cell renewal, this is also what has the positive impact on your biome, because your gut is no longer conditioned on all these sugary substances that go through it. So germs that feed on sugars, for instance, will decrease, whereas other positive ones will grow up. So basically, this is what you want. You want this kind of sweet spot between certain amount of calories, but a reduction of it. And the second thing is, and that's really important then, is that you get the right combination of micronutrients, because this is where the first signs of malnutrition pop up over a certain period of time. Normally, I think everything should be good for the first, at least I would say in a general setting, for the first 5 days. But after that, you should really be careful about what you give to your body in micronutrients. And this is actually a very important question also when it comes to the choice of juices that you have. You'll see a lot of cheap juices or potentially juice cleansers out there that are only orange juice or apple juice in a way, that don't bring together this whole spectrum of micronutrients for the day. Plus, you also have to see that you want different kinds of energy densities and different kind of micronutrients on different days altogether. So when choosing a juice cleanse, it is important that you go low on sugar, that is really low on sugar, because that's what you don't want. So a juice cleanse with apple juice and orange juice is probably not a real juice cleanse, I would say. It has to be the right balance with green, leafy, vegetable juices and low caloric intakes. And the second thing is that you want to provide all the vitamins, minerals, and trace elements to your body to not suffer malnutrition. This is especially important for women, because women are the ones, because of their period, for instance, and the general physiognomy, that suffer from malnutrition on a micronutrient level quicker. And they are the ones then that have the first symptoms of hair loss, for instance, at a quicker level than men. For men, this is not so important normally, but especially for women, please check that you choose the right juices that provide you with the right micronutrients through this whole journey. So I think with that being said, let's maybe move to what this actually means, right? So how do I get into this juice cleanse and this kind of cutting down the sugars in the best possible way?
Yeah, I would say the better you are prepared, the easier the cleanse goes. That is one fact. It doesn't make sense to rush into a fast and then really feel not good and you cannot keep the fast. So I would, I would say 1 to 2 days of preparation before the cleanse would be really good. So you should avoid sugar, eat frequent meals, no snacking, avoid like limos and sugary juices. And for example, one important thing is also to have protein with every meal, because protein keeps also the blood sugar level balanced. If you drink alcohol or if you smoke, that is also something which you should shut down, of course. And also coffee is a thing where you should stop drinking coffee or drink slowly less coffee, or maybe switch to decaf. So because that is also one thing, especially like the lattes, like cappuccino and everything like that, would be good, because the fast will be easier for you if you stop drinking that before, and you can do it slowly. Like that's why 2 days would be maybe good. Switch to easy to digest meals. Yeah. Also, if you start, for example, tomorrow or the day after with the cleanse, you should maybe not eat a steak in the evening, because that's really heavy to digest. Broth soups are really good. Also, maybe anti-inflammatory diet. So maybe less milk, not so much red meat. Really healthy, a whole food diet maybe would be good. And I can say from my perspective, this frequent meals and not snacking is a big impact also on the blood sugar level before.
Exactly.
Because then your body knows that already.
Yeah, exactly. I think ultimately when you put this together, what you said, you have to know, guys, that when you experience a thing which is the fasting hangover, this is the delta between where you start from and where you will be at a juice cleanse, right? Because when you cut down your calories at a juice cleanse and your last meal has been pizza, right? So you've had a lot of sugar and your insulin goes up. This fall here is the area of pain. Let's call it this way. Because the deeper this fall, the more you'll feel pain in the first day. So the way that you cut down and prepare for the juice cleanse is essential for the quality of your journey. So if you feel that you'll have a last meal before you die the next day, and you're going to have a nice pizza the evening before, or a steak, this is exactly the wrong thing to do. Exactly the wrong thing to do, because then this curve is a big ditch and you'll pay for it with the grumpiness and hangriness in the next morning. So try to really slowly bring it down. Bring it down step by step every day. Keep everything that's sugary and rich in energy down, so you actually blood sugar levels and your insulin levels come to the level that you'll have for the next days, and that'll make a way smoother start for especially the first day and the second day of a cleanse. Because after the third day or the second day in the evening, normally this whole level comes down already, and this is exactly what normally is then the turning point, when you start to feel really light and really, really good. And I think when we talk about this bringing down and what this, I think, healthy diet means, I think we should also talk about some traps, right? Because many of you guys think like, oh, okay, then I'll just have a salad, you know, and that night. So maybe, Hannah, let's talk about traps. What are the traps that people can step into when they cut it down?
Yeah, there are a lot, unfortunately. So keeping the salad, of course, salad as itself is healthy, but also the salad needs proteins and I would say a little bit of healthy fats. So it's a good meal. And be careful. Else or order it. The dressing is really unhealthy. It has a lot of sugars, always mayonnaise or something, so really unhealthy fats, and then it's not so easy to digest. So if you go for a salad, you can do that, but maybe you prepare it by yourself or you order the salad and do your own dressing. So take care of that part. For example, granola is also something I would say. It's healthy, of course, the basic is healthy, but if you buy granola from Rewe or Edeka or somewhere else, then most of the granolas have sugar in it, yeah? Or almond syrup,
maple syrup.
Right.
Yeah.
So therefore, go for your own granola with nuts and seeds and things like that, and maybe some fruits. For example, also fruits with a high glycemic index, like bananas, are not so good for the 2 days before, for the cleanse. And what else? Like the cappuccinos, things like that are really not so good. Limos, juices, like if you think, okay, I started juice cleanse, and so I can drink juices before, but if it's orange juice, apple juice, it's actually only sugar. So if you drink juice, it should contain some veggies, some fiber. Fiber is really important also for the blood sugar levels. It's also important for your gut health. Yeah, it's actually the food for your gut bacteria. And what else are traps? Of course, any drinks that are mixed, like I don't know, which you can buy, like sport drinks and things like that.
Yeah.
Are also, I mean, they're made healthy, but smoothies, take care of smoothies. They contain often only fruits and not so much veggies.
Especially the ones that you get in the supermarket. I think that's also one of the misconceptions that people have. I think many of you guys think like, okay, I'm going for the healthy option. I'll have a fruits smoothie that you get in the supermarket. That's healthy, right? And I'll have my, I can't say names, but those healthy brands that you know, granola brands or other names, that is full of sugar, and that you should really avoid over that period of time because it backfires. And I think the same goes for a lot of milks. That's really rich in energies, as Hannah rightly said, cappuccinos, or even golden milks. It can be vegan options as well. Sometimes when they're very nutty, they're highly caloric, and also those you should probably avoid in the beginning, even though they're better than the typical, I think, milk dairy cappuccino. But still, if you can cut it out, you should probably cut it out. Okay, so understood for the purpose of the whole sort of ramp up and leading up to a cleanse. What am I going to do if I fucked it up, in a way? What am I going to do if I fucked it up and I'm fucking suffering? You know, the first day, I'm feeling miserable, I have a headache, I'm hangry, I'm grumpy. What am I allowed to do and what am I not allowed to do?
Yeah, that are typical effects from the detox, which is normal. But of course, if you cannot stand in there, you could do just like some emergency things, like your own emergency program. Bone broth or veggie broth is really helpful. You can try that first, and if you have a really bad headache, one espresso can also help. But first of all, I would go with bone broth. You could also try to use infused water, for example, because there you get also some minerals in, or water with a little bit salt could also help.
Yeah.
And that are some emergency tips maybe that can help.
Yeah, I think if you are suffering, there might be various reasons. One of them is obviously maybe the sugar aspect that we've tried to avoid. But still, if you've done everything right and you still feel a bit low the first day, that might be something that also is actually a dehydration effect, which might sound funny if you think like, oh, I'm drinking 4 juices a day, I can't be dehydrated. No, yeah, you can, because you have a lot of sort of detoxing effects going on. You have a lot of stuff that's actually leaving your body at this point. So yes, you might very well be dehydrated, and not only from the water standpoint, but from the mineral standpoint as well. So if you do suffer from those, and this is different for everybody, drink a lot. Drink a lot of tea, especially herbal tea, and in tea infusions, infused water, and as she rightly said, also with added salt, for instance, this really helps. There's also minerals in bone broths or vegetable broths if you want. That's a real helper. So definitely get rehydrated and get remineralized. That's the tea, I think, really important block when you feel bad. A second point when you feel bad is probably also often a hangover, or I would say addiction symptom of coffee. So I don't know if you've ever tried it to cut out the coffee in your diet, which you should, because in a cleanse, coffee has an insulin trigger function. So it actually counteracts the effects that you want to have during a cleanse. So you should go down on coffee if you can. But having said that, if you can, because often if you're used to a lot of coffee and you don't drink coffee, you get grumpy and you get hungover from your addiction from coffee altogether. So if this makes you feel really miserable and bad, have an espresso, as she said, but have it black. Don't have it with any milk, or don't have it with anything, or have an Americano without sugar and milk. That's the important thing. This will have an effect on your insulin, so it might be a small compromise, but there's also studies that show, for instance, that black coffee have an autophagy effect. So maybe it's not that bad after all, altogether. And whatever helps you to get through these couple of first days and get through this adaptation phase is fine. Don't kill yourself if you do these things, right? In the beginning, many people say like, oh my God, if I sin now, the whole cleanse loses its purpose and I've kind of fucked it up. Whatever, I'm not gonna do it. No, it's actually okay if you do these things. It's a normal process. Everybody has their own rhythm and has their own physiognomy with different signs and symbols that you'll have to react to. And that's totally cool. Totally cool, don't worry, drink a coffee. And to me, my personal fixer is bone broth, as she said. Like in the first night, I classically even plan for it actively. Like I buy bone broth in advance, and I normally know that even if I did everything right in the beginning and the last 3 days, I'll need a big bowl of bone broth at night to feel good, and that'll carry me then through the rest of the cleanse.
There's also I don't want to stress coffee first and then stress. Okay. One more tip for the prep phase with regards to coffee. If you start in the prep phase to drink coffee only together with your meals, it also impacts on your blood sugar and the preparation as well. So it's not really that hard to read the fast.
I think there's a connectivity issue, but if I repeat that correctly until maybe they reconnect there, the tip is if you have coffee in your cut down days, have it together with your meals, because what happens is that the insulin will go up through your meals in general, and that will lead to only punctual increases of your insulin and not then an extra increase of the insulin when you have the coffee on top of things. I think that's what the tip was, and I think it's a very valuable tip. They disconnected. Let's try to get them back in. 1 second. Let's wait 2 seconds. Maybe while we reconnect, I go on, and I've just invited them again for us to join and see if they reconnected on the internet. Yeah, here we are again.
Sorry.
Connectivity, no problems. I just repeated the coffee tip about the insulin. So was there anything else that you wanted to say?
Yeah. I want to say, because we talked a lot about nutrition, like if you're coming off a lot of coffee, a lot bad diet, and so on, then you experience a hangover. hangover in fasting. You also do if you're coming off a lot of stress, or if there has been like some sort of like flu or some kind of like just some illness, some small illness hidden, which was covered up by stress hormones. That happens a lot. So if you're coming off like a large stress period, you know, all of you know the time when you have lots of stress, you go to your vacation and then you get sick the first couple days. That's the body coming off of those stress hormones. And stress hormones, to be in stress mode, our body also needs a lot of sugar, even if you're eating super clean. So also, if you have been eating super clean, you've been avoiding coffee or too many stimulants, and you have a hangover, that might be stress. And in that point, use the little tricks that David and Hannah gave you, but also maybe you just rest a little more, you know, calm down, do some meditation, sleep a little more. So that is also super important, listening to your body's signals.
Super important. And actually, you guys will notice that also because we, in our program, declared the first day the hangry day, you know. So when all of this happens simultaneously, so mindfulness and everything mind exercise-wise is super important on the first day. So you'll see it also in the app, and we'll talk about it also in a minute later on, that there's little things that you can do in order to get through this. And maybe we just jump into it right away, Mareike, in order to prepare for that. Because I think what we do in the app, for instance, is that we give little hints on activity, for instance, right? That how you can stay active. I think that's one component. Self-care is in a good routine where you can do little things that are good for yourself and give you a positive sort of mindset. Meditation, breathwork, all these things are out there. So maybe you give us a little context on how to use them.
Yeah, sure. So I would say, so there's mindful, you can do everything that you do mindfully. Because mindfulness means just paying close attention to what you're doing right now in this moment, and taking in all the vastness of the experience of now, whatever that means. I mean, you can cook mindfully, you can drink your juices mindfully, which I'd recommend for the juice fast. You can walk mindfully, you can breathe mindfully. So that's mindfulness in itself, directed, focused attention. And to practice that, it makes sense to practice that also while not doing anything, so just paying attention to yourself. And you will learn about various mindset and mindfulness exercises in the next couple days during the fast from Uha, exactly, sorry. But one thing that is easy to start with, if you haven't been into mindfulness at all and it's super new to you, is just to do a basic body scan. This can take 30 seconds, 10 seconds. It can also be 10 minutes or 30 minutes, as long as you want to. And the basic principle of a body scan is that you just find a comfortable position, you pay attention to your body, and then you scan your body down from top to bottom, like you would if water was running down your body, or if like a paper scanner would like scan through, just evenly. And there are a couple points to pay attention to, which is one, just do it evenly and as slow or as fast as you want to. Pay attention to what's happening, like what is the quality of your feeling? Is it tense? Is it loose? Is it comfortable or not comfortable? But without judging, good or bad, threatening or non-threatening, just the quality of the experience, and then going evenly through without changing anything. One example is if I have a tight shoulder, like I do a body scan, I notice there's some tightness in my shoulder. I don't change it. I don't change my posture. I just notice there's some tightness, and I keep scanning evenly down. And that teaches to be okay with every experience. May it be comfortable or not comfortable. I just invite you to do this for a couple seconds with me, just to try it out. And I would also invite Hannah and David to join if you want to. So super easy. This is not the thing that you have to do in like a lotus position or cross-legged position. You can do it even standing in the train on your way to work or just before a meeting. So just sit upright, find a good relaxed posture. So like good thing is to draw your shoulders to your ears and then just let them fall. Mine just crackles a little, which is why I'm not laughing. And then just find relaxed, attentive, upright posture. So it's not checked out, it's attentive and upright. And then you can close your eyes if you want to. Just take a couple breaths in and out through your mouth and in through your nose and out through your mouth. And if you don't want to just find a point where you can lay your gaze. So on the ground, on the walls, somewhere you're sitting, just lay your gaze there and just not focus your eyes. If you think of a camera, if your eyes would be a camera, your eyes would be like wide lens, so not focusing anything. And if you have your eyes closed, just point your gaze inwards. So pay attention to your body. What's the overall quality? If you zoom out of your body, what's the overall quality? Is it tense? Is it loose? Is it here? Are you still a little scattered? What is your mind doing? Is it chattering? Is it silent? Is it going off the to-do list you have for tomorrow? All of that is completely fine. Just let it be how it is. Just notice what's happening. And then you could slowly direct your attention to the top of your head. And then as fast or as slow as you want to, just start evenly scanning down. Like a paper scanner scanning through paper, just scan through your head, through your face, through your throat, down on your shoulders. And just notice what's happening there. What kind of quality does your body part have that you scan through? Scanning through your arms, upper arms, your chest, through your diaphragm, stomach, intestines, belly, lower arms, your hips. Take as much or as little time as you need and scan evenly through, not stay with a particular pad, just keep going, whatever you're noticing. Maybe you've already arrived on your thighs, scanning in the direction of your knees, through your knees, down your shins, calf, into the ankles, through the feet, through the bottom of your feet, into each and every single toe. And when you've done that, again, zoom out and take another picture of your body. How's it feeling now? Are you present? Mind's still scattered. If it's still scattered, just hold it, like get it back gently, like whistle it back like a dog, like a friendly dog that you take back when you want to get back to you. So gently pull your mind back into what you're doing right now. And then focus on your breath again. Big in breath through your nose and out through your mouth. And another big in breath through your nose and out through your mouth. And you can make it loud. And another one. And out. And then you can take your time to open your eyes.
Yeah, thank you very much, because this is something that I do, for instance, every morning in my daily routine, but I do it also in non-cleansing days. And what I noticed then, for instance, is obviously in a cleanse day, especially on the first day, you will see a lot of alarm clocks. When you do a blooding scan, you'll feel like, oh my God, I'm so hungry. Oh my God, I'm so da-da-da-da-da. This might pop up in your head. And I think what then helps is activity. Positive activity on a slow level. Try to stay engaged. Do things that distract your mind if you cannot manage your emotions so well. Forgive yourself in distraction. So make it a comfort day. Go outside. Science says, for instance, that being in nature is a major stress reliever and a settling point for you to manage your mood. So if you feel cranky, etc., have a nice walk outside, which is also something that we will talk about on the first day with regards to activity to stimulate your metabolism and have it not go into hibernation. So slight forms of exercise are really good. Journaling, really good also to reflect upon these feelings, saying like, okay, what am I feeling? What is it right there? Do I need to feel that way? Where is it coming from? What is tied to it? So journal it, document these experiences and make them a reflection point is something that's really good. And anything else that helps you for self-care, for instance, we give you all face masks in our program, is also really good. Take care of yourself. If you feel anxiety, do anything that's good for you. So in our shopping list, for instance, you have massage oils or anything like a sound bell or any of these things can really help you on the first day or when you feel down on a cleanse. I think they're also something that you should probably do anyhow, because as Mareike said in the beginning, you will feel very heightened. All your senses will feel very heightened, and you will learn sort of the positive side about this journey, about this heightenedness, when you do good self-care tricks for that day. So maybe after the third day, for instance, or the second day when you do meditation, you feel it to be more intense than it normally is. And same goes for smells and aromas. If you work with massage oils or incense sticks, you will feel them to be more intense and more exciting than what they normally are. And that's the beauty side then of a cleanse, that all of a sudden you'll be so sensitive to all these stimulus that it's really a great experience for any kind of stimulus that you'll expose yourself to. But we will go into that in greater detail for every day of the journey. So on the first day, the mindfulness will be a major part of our next session. Second day, then exercise. Third day, ramping back up. I think for now, the sort of onboarding is pretty much complete. If I look at it, we will go into each of the building blocks that we talked about in greater detail in the next session. And also the app will help you, and our website with more information and on all of these things. We have a couple of little questions, I think, that we had prepared, which we would like to pick up quickly. I'll just look over to Caro here, because you guys wrote us some questions in the Insta feed before, when we asked you for questions 2 days ago. So maybe quickly let's check what that is, and then maybe you guys, whoever's in the room, can also ask questions, and that would then wrap up today's session. So first thing is, what do I have to buy? I think that's something we covered really well. That's also something that you'll find in the app. Get yourself some Himalaya sea salt, get yourself a vessel to remind yourself of the watering, get yourself some tea infusions, get yourself some bone broth or vegetable broth, I would say, and get yourself whatever you want for your self-care. So be it a yoga mat, be it massage oils, be it incense sticks, whatever in terms of self-care that you guys feel, buy that. What also really helps is anything that you can infuse water with, for instance, like fresh mint, berries. Don't eat the berries. Berry eating would not be good. But if you infuse the water, yes, that could be something. And you'll find all of that, I think, in your app checklist. And when you download the Deluma app, you'll see all these details, what you'll need to buy in advance. There's a shopping list in there. What's the next one? Glaubersalz. Good question. Actually, that's something for you, Hannah, huh?
Yeah. You can do it if you want to. It depends really on the person. I would suggest to do it 2 days before, or maybe also 3 days before, because sometimes you have to take a lot of it so often that you really that it has an effect. So you can do it, but you don't need to. So if you have, I would say, if you did a juice cleanse before or fasting phase before, and you know your body very well, then you can test it in the second or third time. If you do the cleanse the first time, I would say start with the cleanse without the Glaubersalz, and then maybe the next time you do that, you can test that, how your body reacts on that. Yeah,
I totally agree. Maybe can you quickly explain for everybody who doesn't know what Glaubersalz is and what the benefits are, so maybe people can then understand it a bit better?
It's actually also something like it's a salt you use, you drink it, and you basically go on toilet, and it's detoxification. So you empty your gut, and it's also it's easier to start the fasting phase, but it really depends on your body. So I have examples where it works really well, and I have examples they sit on the toilet like all day, and then they don't have enough energy anymore for the kids. So
1,000%. That's also why I would say it's something that you can do, and it can be very good if you know your body and you know how your body reacts, especially to green juices or something. There can be things happening anyhow, and if you put Glaubersalz on top of these things, it might be too much, and you might dehydrate too much, and then also you'll have the fasting hangover too much. Because if you dehydrate, you lose salts, you lose minerals and all that kind of stuff. So there's a potential downside to it. I mean, there's a whole other universe about colonics and all these stuff to clear out sort of your intestines in hand with it. There's also a reading list, I think, in our app where you can read up on these things more in detail. But I would say if you've gone through it, exactly like you said, if you've gone through one and you know how you react to juice cleanse in general, you can additionally use it to sort of speed up certain processes. But there's no need for it, I would say, in general. That's the only ones we have. Everything else is covered here, Caro tells me. Is there anything in the chat rooms that we see in questions?
I saw the Glaubersalz question coming up, but this is apart from that.
No? Even better. I think that shows we've covered everything. Or at least I hope so. Because this is actually what we want to achieve. We want to support you guys in this whole journey and create a holistic package that covers anything from mind and physicality in a way to guide you through this process. Because it is a...
Yeah, I have one more tip maybe.
Yeah.
Because we talked about journaling, and what you can also do from the nutrition point of view, that you also write down your energy levels, how you feel after a meal, also in prep phase, but also after juice, how your sleep was, because basically the cleanse is also for changing routines into more healthy routines, and that can help you. So if you feel good with the juice in the morning or with not snacking, that you can keep that feeling afterwards in your new routine. So write it down, how you feel before a meal, after a meal, with a meal, how you slept, how your energy levels is, when you're hungry, when you're not hungry, is also a good basis to then start over a more healthy diet and more healthy lifestyle. Yeah,
I think this is a really good reference also for our last session that we'll have when we go back into the ramp up. We'll explain to you how you can continue with the positive effects of a cleanse. And I think this is a good reference point to begin with, because ultimately the cleanse should not be a one-off, but it should change your habits and sort of lead to a more healthy and holistic lifestyle altogether, because that's what it's really great for. But as I said, we created this whole program for the next week to guide you through it every day. This was the holistic view. In the next days, you will have shorter infos from us, only like 15 minutes or something every day, breathwork sessions, little check-ins from me. We'll also have somebody joining me for the juice cleanse in the opening ceremony. You'll get to know her, and we'll give you little updates. She will also do it in German. The reason why we do it in English this time is because from the last cleanse, we've had a lot of comments that people wanted to have it in English also. So we will have everything from my side done in English this time, and everything that Aisha does is going to be in German for you guys to have somebody on that level too. I think that's it for tonight. Thank you guys for joining us today and over the next days. Super looking forward to going deeper and taking it step by step. And for everybody else who's joining us in our cleanse, welcome, and let's have this to be a great week all together. And with that, I wish you a good evening. Ciao, ciao.
Thanks for having us.
Ciao.